Alright, my last video was obviously the TT Nationals, National Champs, our actual Pro National Champs. A little bit of like a fun, happy, upbeat video. This is not going to be that. I'm pretty disappointed with Cycling New Zealand, as I think a lot of people are, for how poor the placement, the courses, and just the entire event was the whole weekend. Pro Nationals is meant to be Pro Nationals. Like, the guys coming to this race are professional athletes. Like, the professional riders that are meant to be coming to this race are earning more than entire rugby teams in their salary in a year. Like, it's an insult to them that Nationals was in Tokoroa this year. It's an absolute mockery of our sport, and it's ridiculous at this level and this age. We've never had more professional bike riders, men and women, in this country between Continental and World Tour in the entire history of our sport, but yet our national champs is in Tokoroa. There's not even an airport in Tokoroa within an hour. It is just ridiculous. Leading up to the event, my team and every other team couldn't even go and ride on the course except for 3 different occasions that got changed back and forth constantly, and they didn't actually know whether they were allowed on the course because it was a closed forestry road. And the reason that there was no coverage, which is just absolutely ridiculous for such a high level event with professional athletes, no coverage at all of the event, is because those roads, there's no service out there. It is just the worst chip you could possibly think of, and that in turn, having it in Tokoroa meant that there was no crowds. There's also no accommodation, so no one actually really stayed in Tokoroa. They either stayed in Cambridge, we stayed in Taupo, which was an hour 15 drive every day, there and back, or they stayed in Rotorua. There are 365 days a year to make and get ready for an event that only takes 3 days. If you look around the world, like the Colombian Nationals the other day, I watched the video of that, there was more people on the side of the road, you couldn't even see the footpath. These are such big events. And back when I was growing up, I used to absolutely love going to these Elite Nationals, the Pro Nationals. When it was in Napier, I used to go up there when I was 15, 16, 17 and make my little videos that are still on this channel to this day. And even those events in Napier was a better place than Tokoroa of all places. We used to get lots of people out on the outer laps, and then you go in the inner city loop in Napier, there'd be people up the hill, there was an atmosphere, people actually wanted to be there was a crowd on the finish line, it was actually a good event. And I've heard from multiple sources that back when it was in Cambridge, it was an absolutely phenomenal event, and everyone used to come and get behind it, and there's photos of people winning, and there's just crowds everywhere, huge atmosphere. You actually wanted to win the Pro Nationals in New Zealand, whereas now it's just ridiculous. Like, Aurum went down the line to finish and win his first ever Pro Nationals and wear the silver fern for New Zealand, and there might have been 30 people. Like, it just makes no sense. The reason I thought I'd make this video is because I feel like I'm the only person that isn't like a professional rider or something that has a bit of a platform in New Zealand, and that this actually affects. I have a development team that ride the under 19 bit of the Nationals. I have a elite team, Couplands, that are riding, and I'm putting a lot of time and a lot of money, and a lot of other people are. Like, there's a hell of a lot of teams now. There's the iLab team, there's Black Spoke, there's Cycle Project, there's Pista Corsa, just to name a few. There's a lot of people out there in New Zealand putting a lot of time and money into growing the sport, but Cycling New Zealand don't seem to be doing the same. And the guys like me running these teams, we spend hours and hours at night after our jobs, because obviously everyone that does this actually has a normal job. These are non-for-profit. We make no money doing this. It is for the love of the sport, and we're out here busting our asses to try and grow the sport. And it has never been bigger at the pro level than it is now in 2023. Never been bigger. And then when the Pro Nationals comes around, this event, the fact that it's in Tokoroa is just a kick in the teeth to everything that we are trying to do in this country to grow the sport. And I feel like all of the other team directors and the viewers and the cyclists in New Zealand that love road cycling would agree with me on that. I understand from what I heard, this has absolutely nothing, I'm not having a go at Coxie, the guy who actually ran the event. Like, good on him for actually taking this on board. He was, he constantly seemed to be really stressed out over the weekend. It just didn't seem to be running the way he wanted it to be, and the Cycling New Zealand people didn't seem to be doing what he was asking them to do. I'm not having a go at him at all. He runs great events. I wish the Dynamo series was still on. It's not him at all. It is Cycling New Zealand. They are meant to be running the events. Every other country, when they run their pro nationals, the country's cycling body runs the nationals. It's not meant to be for profit. It's meant to be a huge event. You bring everyone in and you want to see who's going to wear your fern or your colours over the year when they're in the pro peloton. It's a big event, and we've just somehow made it the smallest event in the world. It's absolutely, like, it's laughable compared to Southland or Cycle Classic. I also in the last month got to see the Cadell Evans road race in Australia, and there were so many Kiwi cyclist pros in that World Tour race. It was ridiculous. It was so cool being a Kiwi cyclist and growing up with guys like Finn and Corbin and being able to see them all in the race and actually like seeing them with all the other pro teams. I'm like, wow, like we have done something right. Like there's so many pro cyclists. And do you know how many pros actually showed up? Like World Tour pros showed up to our nationals? I think it was 3. I think it was Campbell Stewart, George Bennett, and Shane Archibald, like actual World Tour pros that showed up. Like that is just insane. Like Corbin Strong is on one of the best forms of his life. Finn Fisher Black's just come back from injury and they just didn't even come, because obviously they're not going to come if it's going to be in Tokoroa. It's not like they need to make this event huge and actually spend some time behind it and get the cycling community. But yeah, that's my little rant for the day. I just didn't want to let this go. Like I feel like someone has to speak out about this. Like let me know your opinions in the comments below. I feel like Cycling New Zealand need to see this. I understand that traffic management is hard in this country. I understand that. I understand that there's so many hurdles road cycling has to go through. But that's just what we have to do these days. Like it just has to be done. Like George Sandoval does a great job of it. The fact that he ran that race 2 stages of the New Zealand Cycle Classic in the middle of Wellington City shows that it can be done. If you spend time and you have passion and you love what you do, it can be done. And that is my final statement.